Hello all! Today, ScorcherToys@anymoon.com is looking at accessory figures released to pair with Yamato's 1/60 scale Queadluun Rao toys. This review will cover the joint Yamato CMs release of a 3-body Miria 639 figure set released in August 2004 for 3,000 yen, as well as the Max Pilot figure from CM's Macross Figure Collection Part 3 released in September 2005 for about 600 yen. Since both Yamato and CMs were victims of the Great Recession, you won't be seeing these toys reissued. But if you're shopping for more current products, head to Big Bad Toy Store through my campaign link and get what you want while supporting this channel. The 3-body set comes in a pretty sturdy box with a big window up front letting you see the wedding dress and standing figures. Sliding the tray out from within, you'll also spy the headless pilot figure tucked in behind. That's right, it's 3 bodies, just 2 heads. Tucked behind the figures, you'll also find the standard CM's figure stand in white with 3 different clasp sizes. CM's Macross Figure Collection Part 3 was a blind box release, so you weren't sure which figure you'd be getting. On the back of the box, you'll see Max's compatibility with the Yamato Q Rao touted. Unfortunately, my Max figure was delivered without the black stand, so you won't be seeing that in this review, but excluding color, it's the same as the one you'll see with Miria. We're going to start with Miria in her wedding dress. It is a bizarre figure, and I don't know who really wants this. It has a neat translucent paint effect, but the paint is breaking down or the plastic is breaking down. It's very sticky to touch. In fact, you'll even see droplets on the dress. So something is breaking down there, making it very unpleasant to handle. Now the toy has no real articulation to speak of other than the ball jointed head. The arms are just pegs, but they're flat arms, so they find home. And if you try to like twist the arm, as you bring it up, it just slides right off the peg. So not a lot you could do on that side. On this side, you can bring it forward a little bit and not have it be terribly awkward, but it's loose and it definitely wants to be on or in this position, I should say. Now the hair is very long and causes the head to want to be in one particular position. There is the ability to remove the head at the neck as well as the ball joint there. So you'd be able to tighten this up pretty easily with a little piece of tape if you wanted to. That hair is so big and heavy though, it's causing the whole thing to want to fall apart on me. Now you do have a correct position for the neck and the front there. So there you go. That is the wedding dress Miria figure. Here's the standing pilot figure. She cannot stand on her own. You're going to need to use that doll stand or lean her against a Queadluun Rao, which would be a pretty slick look. No articulations. You can pop the limbs off, the arms off, but they can only go right back in on the position you took them off on, so no fun there. Ball jointed head pops off, visor comes off, and then you've got that nice Miria face sculpt underneath. We can plug that back on, get some various looks. So that's cool. You can also pop that head off, and I'm gonna take her off the stand now, and pop on the helmetless head to get this look. Now, unfortunately, you can't put the visor back on and make it look like she's holding her helmet about to go out. These are very basic fixed posed figures. So that is what you get from the standing figure. Here is the final figure that comes with the 3-piece set. And you can see the ball joint, very loose. Even with the peg, the visor pops out a little too easily for me. So minor frustrations there. But really, there's not much to say about this figure. It has no articulation again other than the ball jointed head. It is an upgrade over the figure that came with the Queadluun Rao. And remember, these came out just after the Queadluun Rao did, so everybody would have had their own existing pilot figure. So the question would have been, is it worth it to upgrade to this version? Now you can see there's definitely better painted on detail on the CM's version. The mold is much more feminine. She's got a ton of thigh gap there, probably a little unnatural. Super booty. Armor's actually truncated a little so they can get that head to lean back further. Yamato handled that probably a little better, honestly. But the shoulder armors here look much better than this weird triangle head that Yamato has. And just overall, a much better representation on the CMs toy, but is it worth it to upgrade if you already had this toy inside and you weren't really seeing it that much? Probably not for a lot of people. The face sculpt is definitely better on the CMs also, but as it's obscured by the visor, I don't know how much that was going to matter to people either. Here we have the Yamato included pilot figure. I've thrown her in a Max toy just to do this comparison. She would obviously come with the red version and only the first release. So if you got a later release and you really wanted a pilot figure, you had to shop for this one and track that down and purchase it. Otherwise, you had no pilot figure. But if you did have this pilot figure, this is the contrast that you would be considering when deciding to purchase this one. She is clearly much better than this one, even though some of the improved details are now obscured by the cockpit, and we have the ability to look around. But if you were someone that was just gonna never use her or keep the cockpit closed, not a ton of value there. Here is the Max figure, which again came out much later, so he's got some tweaks that make him different from the Miria figure that was included in this set. To make him more masculine, he's got the bigger, puffier shoulders, he's got bigger forearms, he's got a penis and ripped thighs, maybe a little bulgier boots. Doesn't entirely make sense since he was just borrowing a flight suit from somebody theoretically, but he looks for the most part good, except they gave him more of an hourglass figure than they gave Miria, which is just a little bit bizarre. So other than that, good looking sculpt on Max over here. And the big improvement that they did was he actually has some articulation points. So unlike Miria, who's pretty fixed pose, Max has the ability to move his arms without them popping off. It's the same construction, that's just a peg there, but the way everything lines up is flat, so the arm can come forward without falling off. Now the elbows are peg-on pieces in kind of an interesting spot, which also allows them to function. Unfortunately, they didn't make plug-out hands, so he's got these open hands, which I'll show you will look a little funny in a bit. So that's your articulation, some arms and elbow movement, which you're going to need when you throw this guy in the pilot seat. That's ability to go in the pilot seat is also why he's got that backward lean going on. And again, you can use the display stand or put some coins underneath his feet to get him to lean forward a bit, and that'll work. He also has a head on a ball joint, so you can have him looking around. If you've got Miria, you can have him looking over at Miria and her looking at him to do sort of that cute Do You Remember Love scene they have. He also has a pop-off visor, but unlike the Miria visor, his visor doesn't have a peg at the top, so it pops off constantly and is very irritating. Fortunately, it's a clear visor and he's got a good face sculpt underneath, so that's a nice little saving grace there. Ultimately, a little bit better figure than the Miria one. It's just unfortunately went backwards with the visor pop-out piece. All right, we have Max's Queadluun Rao toy. We have our Max CMs figure here, and we're gonna wanna put him inside the cockpit. Now, I've got the visor off because it pops off when I handle the toy pretty easily. But when we go to put him in, we need to bring his arms forward a little bit and bring his elbows up like this. And then we could tuck him in with his feet pinched together. But when we go to pull him out, there's a good chance his boots will just pop off anyways. So go ahead, remove your boots, do yourself a favor, put those aside somewhere. And then we can take him and slide him into position. And it's a pretty snug fit here, as you can see. So once we get him in position, this is where his hands look pretty funny. He's got this like, I can't read Meltron look going on. He should have like fists or something, that would have been better. So now we might be like, all right, let's go ahead and close things up. And so we would take this and bring these down. And you could see it's gonna be just incredibly tight and awkward. You can make this happen, but it is very, very awkward and difficult. His hands are in the way right now, and you really just got to smash them in there. So while it works, it is very far from ideal. And, you know, having a pilot figure in a Queadluun Rao only matters if you could see the pilot figure, so that's not that big a deal. You would probably pose your figure like this, maybe with the visor on, maybe with the screen up. If you were going to close it all up, you might as well just take that pilot figure out, because the things will come together a lot better that way. Oh my God, I'm so in love with you. Hold on, let me change my outfit. So there you go. That's your play factor. Just did it for you, so you don't have to imagine all on your own. Isn't that nice of me? These toys are about 12.5 centimeters tall, which you can kind of do the math, and probably ends up a little on the small side for 1/60 scale, but the Zentron Meltron scale was always a little questionable to begin with in regards to the size of their mecha. You might be thinking, hey, I already have a Miria figure. Can I just use that with my Yamatos? Probably not. This is an awful, awful looking figure. And obviously these CMs pieces are a big improvement over this old Matchbox thing. I usually wouldn't review unarticulated figures, but I think the Queadluun Rao is such a cool design that I wanted to know more about these accessories to go along with it. Now, you might be thinking that 3,000 yen for a 2.5 figure set was highway robbery, but in some respects, it's a bargain. When Yamato reissued the Queadluun Rao without the pilot figure, they slashed the price by 3,000 yen. So, by getting this set, you were getting a better pilot and 2 other figures, roughly, for the same price as the original pilot. The real misstep here was that these were released a month after Miria's Q Rao that included the pilot. So Yamato and CMs were asking people to pay for an upgrade. They should have made the Q Rao more affordable and not included the pilot right off the bat. People who didn't care about the pilot could grab the Q Rao at a lower cost of entry, and people that did care could grab this set. So, now you all know what these figures are and can decide if your Q Raos need company. See the whole article on anymoon.com and make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.